8, 13, 11? No. 4, 8, 12, 13.
So for Quebec, it's Palmer, Belfour, Lalonde, Berube, and Tessier. And then Jonathan, Wilson, Sear, McClellan, and Hayward for New Brunswick.
All right, you ready to rock?
I am.
Welcome back inside the Harris Center here on the campus of Red Deer College. We are into the evening session of the wheelchair basketball competition here at the Canada Games 2019. Once again, Mitch Robson bringing you the action, and now joined by Mike Frogley and Frog. This is the first competitive game we're going to have today, in your mind.
Yeah, both the earlier games really pitted some teams that are growing their programs against more established programs, and now we get a chance to see two teams that have really been developing along the same level. And so this should be a good match for people to see at home.
Tip won by New Brunswick, controlled by Wesley Johnson. It's fumbled away on the pass, and Quebec gets an early turnover. We'll get a stoppage here, and it'll go back to New Brunswick. Inbounding will be Austin McClellan. Gets it down low. Inside cut right there, right underneath. Sean Wilson able to get it to go.
One of the challenges for Quebec is that New Brunswick has athletes that can compete, particularly inside, where Quebec's been strong in the past. And it'll be interesting to see who wins that inside battle today.
And Quebec does have a strong history of success at this tournament.
They've done an outstanding job really developing their program.
Shot off there from Benjamin Palmer. New Brunswick will push the other way. Here's Johnson. Circles around, has a cutter. And that's Austin McClellan just off the back of the rim, no good.
One of the things for people to watch at home early on is to see who's getting shots closer to the rim. So both shots by New Brunswick so far right inside close to the rim.
Colin Lalonde probing on the outside. Looking for somewhere to go. Shot fake, that one goes up from Ben Palmer. Off. Scramble for the loose ball. Lalonde's able to grab it. 10 on the shot clock. They got to go quicker. And they'll give it to Quebec on the inbounds.
It'll be really interesting to see how Ben Palmer responds to the pressure from New Brunswick. See if he can use his outside scoring ability to open things up for his teammates offside.
Question here as to how much time left on the shot clock. They're going to go no reset and stick it at 9. No correction, they will reset it to a full 24. And now we're back to 12. Got that sorted out. Quebec will operate with half a shot clock. Here's Berube over to Palmer. On that baseline, shot no good. Good contest there from the New Brunswick D, but it'll stay with Quebec.
Yeah, you can really see the New Brunswick defense really leaning to Ben Palmer's side with their help defender, number 12, Sean Wilson in the middle.
Wilson has a lot of length down there as well, able to contest most shots. Palmer dumps it down low. Off the side of the rim, no good for Berube. And now Wesley Johnson will bring it forward. Johnson looking around, they send Wilson down. Dumps it. Fades back up off the back of the rim, can't get the bounce. Cleaning up the mess. No, not quite. Still tipped around, and it will go Quebec's ball.
So New Brunswick's done a really good job so far in each of their opening possessions, getting picks in the middle of the court. That's really opened things up inside the inside the paint for them later in their offensive possessions.
Here's Bérubé, who got it from Elodie Tessier. Palmer's going to launch from just inside the arc. No good. Another rebound for Wilson. And a foul called there in the backcourt. And Quebec putting on some full court pressure now. Picked up there by Alex Hayward. Gets it across the timeline. Here's Johnson. Looking around. Back to Wilson. Wilson gets bumped off his mark, saves it before he goes down. And there's a nice cut from Johnson. Has an open shot, and he makes it.
Wesley Johnson really taking his time on that shot. He not rushing it and making sure he used the backboard.
Down the court goes Lalonde. Quick move plus the foul. Nice finish.
So if Quebec's going to be able to compete with New Brunswick today, they're going to have to get some scoring from places other than Ben Palmer. And one of the places they're going to have to get it from is Colin Lalonde. He's been quiet in the past, and this is his time in his career when he should be able to begin to step up, be more assertive.
The 18-year-old completes the and one.
Colin's sister Rosie is on the senior women's team.
Good pedigree for Colin there. 4-3 New Brunswick leads. Competitive game here early on as we approach the 6-minute mark of the first quarter. Hayward dumps it down. Wes Johnson, nice pass, and the open man right there is Austin McClellan for an open layup.
So we got 3 different scorers so far for New Brunswick, and all inside the paint. That's great. That's a great sign for New Brunswick.
Do you think for New Brunswick to have success, they need the scoring to be spread around between everybody?
One of the things that will be differentiate the different teams, the best from the teams that are lower ranked, will be the number of scorers they can put on the court. And New Brunswick can go 4 deep with scorers.
Bringing this forward is Austin McClellan. He's sealed off. And you can see Quebec really trying to deny Sean Wilson getting that cut down into the paint. He zips around and puts it up just off the side of the right rim, and it'll go back to Quebec.
Much better pressure up court by Quebec. They're really starting to deny some of the picks by New Brunswick. New Brunswick's going to have to really look to attack off ball a little bit quicker.
Belfour will inbound. And kind of a lazy pass there. Lucky save by Lalonde. As Wes Johnson came flying in for that. Here's Palmer at the free throw line. Gets denied by Wilson. Gives it back to Lalonde. Palmer now has some space. He's going to put that one up. In and out. Tough shooting start for Palmer. But there's Lalonde once again, cleaning up the mess.
So we can see Quebec's pressure up court. And what New Brunswick has to do is look off ball to try to set picks to get open.
And Johnson cut off by Lalonde. Been very active here on both ends early. And there's McClellan cutting the rim. They also have Mark Sear wide open on the left side. Foul called. And that's going to be Benjamin Palmer's first foul. Inbound there goes to Alex Hayward. They tried to go underneath, and Wilson knows he messed up there, tipping it as he had Hayward cutting wide open.
Yeah, it looks like Alex Hayward was trying to hit Austin McClellan down on the baseline off that little pick by Sean Wilson. Sean thought it was going to hit.
A little too eager. Wilson will flip himself back. Wilson gets himself strapped back in, and we're ready to go. McClellan will inbound. Quick pass to Johnson. Looking across court, and there's Sear wide open, and he fumbled it away. Good look, though, from Wesley Johnson underneath.
Yeah, they really got to take care. Mark Sear's a class 1, and so he doesn't have trunk muscles. So if that ball's a little bit in front of him, he can't lean forward and get that ball. That pass has got to be up a little bit higher into his chest for him to catch it and score.
And here goes Lalonde. Got all 5 Quebec points so far. Zips into the lane. Nearly got it to go once again, but he'll shoot 2. About as good a start for Colin Lalonde as you could have hoped.
He's super talented young man. Very, very calm and steady. He can score going to the basket, and we haven't seen it yet today. But at some point in this tournament, I think we'll see him shoot 3s.
Knocks down the first free throw. Tie the game. Second one no good. That will be tipped around. Stay New Brunswick basketball. And Quebec back into full court pressure, trying to deny the ball. Wilson gets it up. Johnson over to Hayward. Inside, Wilson's got open space and an easy lay. No, pops out. Unlucky break right there for Sean Wilson.
They finally picked in the open court, and they got somebody free for another layup, and weren't able to capitalize.
Here's Lalonde slicing and dicing through the lane. Too hard off the backboard.
So now Quebec's starting to get to the rim. They're starting to get those easy shots.
Good screen there from Sear. Hard hit. Wilson almost caught that. Recovers. Thought about the shot. Gives it back. Johnson spins himself around. Frees him up for space. He's going to launch from downtown. Off the front of the rim. No good.
So I think that's the first outside shot. So now we're starting to see some of that pressure from Quebec take its toll. And they're staying extended. Picks are there. New Brunswick's got to recognize them.
Palmer 0 of 5 to start. He passes out of that one. They need to get him going at some point. Will this be the one? He pulls it. Can't get it to go.
Ben's a really, really talented player. And these misses we're seeing from him right now, eventually they're going to start to drop. The percentages will catch up.
Pass inside there, picked off by Sandrine Berube. Palmer back, gives it to Tessier. She goes up with her left hand and scores. Quebec takes their first lead.
Yeah, Elodie Tessier is one of the rising stars on our senior women's program. She's just started to compete at that level, and she shows a lot of promise. There's a lot of different things she can do well.
Hayward here looked like he was going to go 1-on-3. He pulls it back. Wilson tries to set up the screen for him. But Berube is all over him. Nice catch down low from Wesley Johnson. Draws a foul. That will be Lalonde's first foul.
One of the things that'll be interesting to watch is I'm not sure if Quebec is quite as deep as New Brunswick in some of their spots, some of their key spots. And so foul trouble could play a role in this game if Quebec's putting a lot of pressure up court and picks up a couple fouls.
Well, and you see that now as New Brunswick subs. No subs yet for Quebec. Sticking with that starting unit right now. Checking in for New Brunswick, we have number 5, Danielle Duplessis, as well as Max Arsenault, number 9, and number 13, Jake Fudge, all checking in. Fudge down on that baseline finds Hayward, no good. And now Tessier on a leak out. She's got one man to beat, puts it up with her right hand, can't get it to go.
It's a rare miss by Elodie. She's one of the most consistent finishers in the open court for our senior women's program.
That one down to Fudge. She draws the foul on Berube. We'll get a couple foul shots here. And you had mentioned to me just before we came on the air that you think Jake Fudge can be a real problem for Quebec in this one.
Yeah, Ben Palmer's a tremendous athlete, and few teams have somebody who is athletic and can push with him, move their chair. And Jake Fudge is one of those young men who can push with Ben and really provide a great matchup out there for us to watch.
Fudge off on that first free throw. Second one up, he's got a quick release and drains it. ties us back up at 7s.
Now we're starting to see Quebec pick in the open court to try to create some transition opportunities, some numbers advantages.
And there's Palmer weaving inside, finally gets himself on the board.
A nice pick by Woody Belfour to open Ben Palmer up going to the basket.
Quebec now pulls back on their defensive pressure and sets up half court. This is Duplessis controlling for New Brunswick. She fires it over, tough catch. Tipped around, and Tessier gets in there and steals it.
So we're starting to see that up-court pressure from Quebec cause some ball handling problems for New Brunswick.
Lalonde too strong with the right hand. And there is McClellan. Belfour cuts him off. Back to Duplessis. McClellan inside, got some spaces. Fudge just inside the free throw line, can't knock it down. We'll go back to Quebec.
So one of the things about wheelchair basketball is the lack of lateral movement makes picking so critical. And we can see in the middle of the court right now, Elodie Tessier, number 5 for Quebec, setting a pick in the backcourt on one of the New Brunswick players. And that allows Quebec to set up a transition offense and free up one of their players going to the basket. And this time it ends up being Colin Lalonde.
As he knocks it down right there. And as you said, much more than the stand-up game, you see those picks kind of at half court, just off an inbound to try to get that 5-on-4 mismatch as often as you can. Quebec up 4 now as we're under a minute to go here in the first quarter, leading 11-7. Whips that cross court. Here's Fudge. Gets it inside. McClellan snuck past. Can't get it to go.
It's a great little power pivot by Austin McClellan, recognizing Elodie Tessier overplaying the pick and then going back door on her.
And Quebec now in the bonus. So McClellan will shoot 2. Knocks down the first. Austin, 17 years old from Fredericton. Second one up. Pure. Real nice looking stroke for Austin McClellan at the free throw line.
You know, New Brunswick's got to start to help some of their players get back in so that they don't get picked in the backcourt. That's going to be disruptive to their defense, and they won't be able to set up and defend quite as well as a team if they continue to get somebody picked out.
Tessier's entire job just taking Jake Fudge out of the play. Lalonde looking for Palmer underneath. Catches it over the shoulder and draws a foul. Nicely done.
Yeah, so great job by Elodie Tessier. She picks out Jake Fudge, keeps him out of the play. Arguably their best defender down court right now and the person that can push with Ben Palmer. Ben Palmer recognizes that and takes advantage of that mismatch that he's going to have down at the other end, not having somebody that can guard him at the other end one-on-one. And
you can see right now Quebec's flow of the game, they're really controlling the pace to how they want it to be.
Well, they really understand each other's roles. They spend a lot of time in training camps, and they've spent the last 4 years doing a lot of stuff that's really brought that team together. And the coaching staff under Nick Palmer's guidance has really done a great job pulling it together and playing as a team.
Palmer will shoot 2 free throws here. Maybe he can get himself going if he sees the ball go through a couple more times. That one's pure. Second one for Ben, up. Off the back of the rim, but Lalonde right there once again. He's been everywhere in this first quarter making plays. Palmer, cross court. Berube thought about it. She does put it up, in and out. And now 3 seconds. Will New Brunswick get a shot off here? And they will just hold and run it out. So at the end of one, competitive, physical first quarter, Quebec leading 12-9.
Yeah, really, really good. Now we're starting to see the team sort of settle into what they want to do. You know, Quebec's getting a chance to put more pressure up court, extend their defense, and they're staying up court on their matchups. They're not collapsing back, which means that New Brunswick has to recognize those picks in the open court if they're going to get free and get to the basket. They're going to need to use each other to get free because they don't quite have the same chair skills across the board that the Quebec players have.
And you saw in that first quarter, New Brunswick did run with 8 players. Quebec has not yet made a sub. Do you think Quebec will try to stick with that starting unit as long as they can, or will they try to work some others in?
I think they're going to go with their their key players for the bulk of the game. They've got some great experience there, and some players that have played a lot, have gotten some international experience in people like Elodie Tessier and Sandrine Berube. They've got a little bit of international experience, and Ben Palmer, like I said, he's arguably the most talented player at this tournament. So they've got the players. Their challenge will be making sure they don't get into foul trouble.
And when you have players that have international experience coming into a tournament like this, how much extra help does that give a team?
You know, really what it allows you to deal with, you can deal with the stress of the moment. You can set all the different distractions aside and really be able to focus on your play on the court. Things don't upset you nearly as much, and so that's a big factor here on the stage, and particularly as the tournament moves on, that experience will play out even more.
And it does look like coming out of this quarter break, Quebec will make a sub as Aurélie Jacob-Verreau is on the court now, joining Woody Belfort, Benjamin Palmer, Tessier, and Alex Bougie will also check in for Quebec.
Okay, so giving a little bit of a break to Colin. Yeah. Aurélie is a really talented young lady, number 23. So somebody to keep an eye on in the open court.
New Brunswick getting their last words of advice before coming out to begin the second quarter. As the stands continue filling in, the first competitive game we've had so far today, 3 blowouts. Nice to see 2 teams getting after it here, the evening session.
Yeah, it'll be neat to see as we come out of the corner. I'm always interested to see the adjustments that teams make and see if New Brunswick adjusts to that up-court pressure and can recognize those picks off ball and create those opportunities, those scoring opportunities going to the hoop.
On the floor for New Brunswick, we still have number 8, Austin McClellan, number 14, Alex Hayward, joined by Danielle Duplessis. As well as number 9, Max Arsenault, and number 13, Jake Fudge. So second quarter underway now. Cross court to Palmer. He dumps it inside, and it's going to go the other way.
It's still a good sign for Quebec because they were able to get Bougie into the key. And so if they're able to do that, they're going to eventually generate good scoring opportunities.
Bougie, very long arms too. Be tough to contest those shots. Here is Alex Hayward probing along the outside. Gets to the elbow. Cross court to Fudge. And Bougie with reach there, almost got burned, but recovered well. And Fudge flips that up and in.
Tough shot by Jake. Tough shot by Jake. That's not one they want to have to rely on throughout the game, though.
One of those no, yes shots. Here's Palmer operating at the elbow. Gets inside. Nice dump to Belfort on the screen and roll. Can't get it to go. Bougie nearly gets it back. Palmer will save it. 2 seconds on the clock. He's got a launch from distance. Almost knocked that one down. And now Duplessis will fire it forward to Austin McClellan. Nice piece of passing there to Fudge. 2-on-1. And just got caught going too fast towards the rim there was Hayward. And a little tie up here on the opposite end of the court. So Quebec will reset their offense with 19 seconds on the shot clock. Leading 12-11, just getting going in the second quarter. Tessier thought about that one. It's over to Belfort. He's going to put it up off the back of the rim, no good. You see Quebec now really extending that pressure.
Yeah. New Brunswick can't beat Quebec's press by dribbling. They really have to look to keep space from those defenders so there isn't ball pressure, and they need to swing the ball to the opposite side of the court. So it's going to take everybody helping bring the ball up by passing.
Palmer will take it off the inbounds from Jacob Vero. Palmer catches it over Belfort's head. He's sealed off and gets called for the travel. No make on that one. So now we'll see how New Brunswick tries to break the press on this trip. Looked ready to launch it right there was Hayward. They go to the backcourt and Tessier tips it away.
Yeah, New Brunswick needs to move to the ball to receive these passes. They can't just simply sit there stationary, or Quebec's going to rotate into the passing lane and look to take some of these.
They do pull it off after that tip to reset in the half court. Here comes Fudge with some speed. Gets cut off at the elbow. Trying to work on that screen from Max Arsenault, but nothing there at the moment. McClellan on the baseline tries to go cross court. Really tough pass to make from that angle. And now Palmer will go. He's got Belfort running with him on the left side. And foul called there before the pass. I'm going to give Palmer an offensive foul on that.
That's a tough one. And again, if Quebec gets in foul trouble, that could be a deciding factor in this game. And Ben can't afford to pick up offensive fouls. Definitely not. One of the challenges as players, what you'll see is a player try to go in between two defenders in a narrow space and then have another teammate follow in behind. You know, it's called a middle seal. Sometimes players call it a train. And the challenge with it is that it doesn't take much contact to disrupt that. And what Quebec really needs to do is they need to open up space in that situation instead of following behind and create a 2-on-1 pick and roll advantage. And that'll create a better scoring opportunity for them in the long run.
And what is the difference between the wheelchair game and the stand-up game in terms of offensive fouls? Because I've seen throughout the gym today a lot of stuff where it doesn't initially look like an offensive foul and then it gets called going the other way.
Yeah, really the key is did the offensive player make an attempt to stop, and did their back wheels come off the ground? That's a lot of times I tell our players when I'm teaching them that if you lack the control in your chair, that your back wheels come off the ground when you make contact, then an official's going to send it the other way because you don't have enough control of your chair. And they're not going to reward you for a lack of control.
New Brunswick now puts Sean Wilson back in, along with Wesley Johnson, so they put the big guns back out there now. The need for some more offense, and Fudge with a really nice move to get by his defenders all around the world and out.
Yeah, you can't squander those kinds of opportunities. You gotta make those.
Here goes Belfort. He's got help. Dumps it off Palmer. Nice catch on the inside. That one's up and good.
Yeah, the more Quebec can play in open space, use the full court on offense, the full court on defense, the more that'll be to Ben Palmer's liking. It gives him a lot of space, and an athlete like that, a smart guy like that, really can capitalize on all that open space.
And just like that, Quebec will get it back after a foul on New Brunswick on the inbounds. Vero will inbound. Gets it to Palmer, who's starting to heat up. A lot of traffic on that side, but he gets to a spot on the baseline.
Another equipment. You can see that Arsenault and Bougie got hooked up again on the other side.
That's the second time now those two have gotten locked up.
Yeah, Max actually, he's a wheelchair rugby player, so maybe he's bringing some of his wheelchair rugby habits into the game here.
And off pops the wheel, so we'll get that changed out.
We'll see a certain amount of equipment breakage throughout the tournament, and all the players have spare equipment in it, and they've only got a few seconds to be able to use an equipment timeout and make a change. You can see Bougie right now, and Nick Palmer's coach quickly changing the axle and the wheel on the one chair.
It's almost like a NASCAR pit stop.
Exactly.
Get that thing down there quick.
Yeah. These are those moments that can be really trying for a coach, because Jake Fudge had an opportunity for a layup that would have put New Brunswick up 13-12. They come back down. Quebec hits a shot, and now they have the possession back again. All of a sudden, it goes from New Brunswick up 1 to Quebec up 5.
Tough
You can swing that quickly.
And now with Bougie's chair, they will sub him out for Jean-Charles Giguère. Palmer from way downtown, no good. Off the side of the rim, it'll be New Brunswick ball.
Tough shot. Fadeaway 3.
Game kind of stagnating a little bit here after that flow we had at the end of the first quarter.
Yeah, the two teams trying to adjust, trying to see who can kind of win that battle for position on the court.
Johnson takes the inbounds, gets hit. Nice pass up court to Sean Wilson, and they break the press. Wilson has space. There's Sear.
There's that tough pass to Mark Sear again. They've got to recognize when Mark needs that ball if he's going to be able to score, and they've got to do a better job passing to him.
Berube isolating on the right side. Inside Lalonde, just a bit high, but he recovers in the trees down there. Couldn't get it to go. And now a lead pass to Sear. Lucky bounce over to Wesley Johnson, and he gets knocked out of bounds. They're going to give a foul to Palmer. And now that's his third, so you're living on the edge now depending on whether you leave Ben Palmer in the game.
Yeah, now's the challenge for Ben to be able to play and not pick up that fourth before half.
Wilson trying to break free. Can't do it. They get it down to Johnson. Has the reach advantage, and he puts it up and through. Palmer looks up, checks the score. The time, stops himself down as he's sealed off. And you see Tessier again just keeping Wesley Johnson out of the play in the backcourt. Lalonde draws the foul and will head back to the free throw line. Lalonde's first free throw is good. Second one for Colin. Off the front rim, and nice play there by Jake Fudge grabbing that rebound. Fighting through traffic. Gets it over to Wilson. And you see Wilson weaving. Gets the screen in front of him from Sear, but can't finish. And Palmer has a wide open lane if he can get down there in time. Hit late, but gets it to drop. Struggle in transition defense there for New Brunswick.
Well, they're so worried about getting picked out that they're not reading the whole court as they're getting back and identifying the threats in the open court.
And they're going to call a push-off here, and it'll go back to Quebec once again.
So there are a couple things we use as key stats that we watch with our national program. 2-point field goal percentage is one, turnovers are another. And teams that win those two battles win 80% of the games.
Palmer sneaking in underneath.
We can see New Brunswick having some problems with their ball handling and turning the ball over, particularly against this upcourt pressure. They're not ready to execute at that speed and in that space.
And we will have a couple subs check in for New Brunswick after the free throw. Or they'll get them in now. Alex Hayward and McClellan checking back in. Palmer's first free throw is good. And you saw after he struggled in that first quarter, he's really starting to take over the game now.
Yeah, he's getting comfortable. He's got to stay out of foul trouble, keep his hands on his wheels, and not be overly aggressive with his position.
Here's Wilson. Gets it up to Hayward, one-on-one with Palmer.
New Brunswick is trying to cut after those posts, and they really need to look to pick.
Because as you can see right there, the Quebec defense got back in a hurry. And now Wilson just inside the elbow, off the front rim, no good. Quebec starting to build their lead now. Here's Palmer. Weaves back, gets the screen from Tessier. Back to Berube, cross court, Lalonde. Ball really whipping around for Quebec now. Shot was short though.
Quebec quickly on chairs, quickly picking people up.
And Johnson there, looked like he may have had the angle, but Hayward couldn't find him. Has to fire it back and they'll reset. Just 10 on the clock. Great pass, cross court, really nice vision, and Wilson rewards him with the bucket.
Yeah, it's a nice outside shot by Wilson, but the thing we're seeing now we're seeing Quebec getting to the rim, and we're seeing New Brunswick having to settle for those outside shots, and we're seeing the tide of the game change as a result.
Berube has some room. Just give it back to Belfort. Flips it to Palmer. Gets to the free throw line. Thought about it. Nope. Takes it on the move. And gets it to drop. Really nice play right there.
Tough shot by Ben, but you can really see the athleticism in that.
And a timeout right there from New Brunswick after allowing Palmer to isolate and score.
Yeah, they weren't able to get the same kind of pressure they got on Ben Palmer early and deny his movement. Key thing in wheelchair basketball is that it's constantly a battle for space. And when you're on offense, what you want is space. You want to have at least 6 inches from each of the matchups, and then you want to have about 10 to 15 feet between the defenders. And if you can get that kind of space, you can move them around, and you can get the kinds of quality shots that we're starting to see from Quebec. Correspondingly, on the other end, you're starting to see New Brunswick, they're running into the Quebec players, and so they don't have the space they need to move where they want to. So Quebec's defense is controlling New Brunswick.
And what you've seen also, I think, with Quebec is they've done a lot better job at creating those separations off of picks, and also just some of their players being able to maneuver themselves into free space more easily.
Yeah, the picks that they've set in the backcourt, the back picks as we refer to them, have really opened up that space and given people like Ben the room to maneuver in the open court.
So New Brunswick here down 5. Feels like they could almost be down more with the way the tide has turned here in the second, but just stuck 5, over 3 minutes to go. Still very much in play to tie this thing up or take the lead before half.
Yeah, they just need to make sure they control space on offense and take care of the ball and be patient, and they'll be fine. It's only a 5-point ball game, and there's lots of time left to play.
Wilson dumps that down low. Quick release there. Looked like McClellan wasn't quite set for that shot. And now Lalonde will survey the floor. He's got a ton of room. Palmer comes in late. They get it to Tessier. She fires it over. Not sure if that was a pass or a shot.
It's not the shot they were looking for out of that back pick situation. They're trying to get Ben Palmer into the key for something on the offside.
Wilson has McClellan going. Great job by Belfort getting back and sealing him off.
Yeah, great hustle to recover.
Johnson hesitates and makes his move. He's going to put that up just inside the free throw line. No good, and tough bounce there off the wheel of Berube's chair, and it'll stay with New Brunswick. They'll get another chance. On a baseline out of bounds, what is your go-to call as a coach?
Really what you want to, it depends on your personnel. Most teams are going to try to do something on the inbound side, some kind of a screenshot or post-up shot. That's what we saw from Alex Hayward, a little screenshot.
Tessier will control here for Quebec on the change. And Palmer just camped out in the lane. No resistance. Lucky right there for New Brunswick.
There's an open court pick by Woody Balfour.
And another offensive foul called on New Brunswick. That's, I think, their 4th now in this first half.
Yeah, what they needed to do, Alex really needed to post that ball to the other side of the court and then run off that pick and roll. He tried to dribble off that pick and roll, and the Quebec defender was able to get in position and get the turnover.
Here's the loan. He's got all the space in the world if he wants to shoot. Finally dumps it into Berube, who got herself free, and an easy basket right there.
Yeah, she got isolated on Marks here down low, and she's got a little bit better chair skills and was able to cut on him and get in.
Quebec pushes their lead up to 7. Really taking over here in the second quarter. Johnson nearly fumbled it away, gets it back, cross court to Hayward. Alex looking for a decision. Floating there, they get it to Wilson, who's got the height advantage. Here's Sear, and will not get it to go. They're gonna give a 3 in the key, I think, to Wesley Johnson there.
I'm watching Sean Wilson right now, and he looks to me like he's trying to force the play a little bit, and he's trying to cut a little bit. Too much one-on-one. He needs to just settle down, let somebody pick to get him open, and then they'll generate the scoring opportunities they got earlier, and he'll get a little bit closer to the basket.
Here's the loan. Wilson came at him, didn't take the shot. Palmer now working, screen and roll perfectly with Tessier. She just can't finish it. Under a minute to go. New Brunswick needs to get a little bit of momentum swung back to their side if they can. Have not scored in over 3 minutes.
Yeah, they're trying to dribble to create their scoring opportunities. And against this Quebec defense, that's going to be tough to do.
McClellan, tough shot, no good. And now Palmer. You would think if you're Quebec, you try to hold here and run down the clock as much as you can. Palmer will wait around the outside. Ooh, nice move there. Little in and out dribble, and he draws the foul. And that is on Wesley Johnson for a push. Palmer off on the first free throw. Second one up. That one's good. Johnson's got 12 seconds. Trapped in the backcourt, just flings it. Nice catch by Hayward, but they got to go. Only 5 seconds. He needs to make a decision. Wilson's going to have to launch it from deep. Can't get it to drop. So Quebec's defense really locks in for the entire second quarter, and they take an 8-point lead into the break.
Yeah, New Brunswick hasn't adjusted to that full court pressure. They haven't been able to get picks off ball to get their personnel open on the offside, and then they haven't those times when they haven't recognized with the ball and being able to get it to those people rolling off those picks, and so they're struggling against this pressure up court. You can see that Quebec is really playing well as a team, and really aggressive, and a great adjustment by Nick Palmer. They didn't put a lot of pressure up, and the pressure was ineffective early in the game, and now it's really picked up, and we can see the result on the scoreboard.
Thanks for watching the first half with us, and we'll be right back in just under 10 minutes with the second half of action. Welcome back inside the Gary Harris Center here on the campus of Red Deer College. At halftime, Quebec leading New Brunswick 23-15, and you mentioned in that first half, Frog, that the way that you track winning in wheelchair basketball comes down to 2-point field goal percentage and turnovers, and Quebec right now holds the advantage in one really key area. Yeah,
that's a pretty significant difference right now. New Brunswick with the 8 turnovers in the first half, and some of them costly offensive fouls that take away possessions right in the middle of a possession. And Quebec with just 1, doing a great job handling the ball, and we're seeing that show up on the scoreboard. Both teams struggling to hit the shots that they want. They're Quebec at 32% and New Brunswick at 29%. So not a big difference there. The gap is turnovers, and New Brunswick's going to have to handle the ball better against that upcourt pressure from Quebec in the second half if they want to be in this ball game.
Different lineups in here for both teams than their starting 5. See Hayward takes a quick shot there. In for Quebec, Alex Bougie back on the court, and Tristan Lassard making his first appearance, number 34. As well, making his first appearance for New Brunswick is number 15, Wyatt Maskell. So some different looks, and Quebec gets on the board once again early. Wilson's going to run point on this trip for New Brunswick. Gets around to the side, quick move, can't get it to drop. And you see Elodie Tessier out leading the pack, nobody back for New Brunswick, and a little too quick.
That's a rare miss by Tessier. She's usually really reliable in the open court and reads those breaks well.
Here's Jake Fudge, the trailer as Hayward dumps it off Wilson, nice piece of passing, and they convert on it. And I think that's what New Brunswick's got to do a little bit more of, is quick decision-making in the transition game.
Well, they passed before the pressure got to them, and so they were able to get that pass off that time.
Lalonde with a great ball fake. Can't get the shot to drop.
Yeah, beautiful shot fake, but then he rushed it a little bit. And here we can see that Quebec pressure up court, and going to be really hard to dribble against that pressure.
And there's that 8-second
And there we have it.
Yeah.
Great recognition by Quebec that New Brunswick was all packed in on defense. That's the perfect time for them to put pressure up court and prevent New Brunswick from creating that space that they need to attack in the open court and get up court on offense.
Lalonde will inbound from his bench. Get it back. And you see now New Brunswick sagging all the way back into the paint with 4 of their defenders. And Tessier will get tagged with an offensive foul.
And you could see Quebec get that pick again, and they were running their offense as a 5-on-4. LOG just got a little bit of Wyatt Maskell's wheel and just tipped him over, and the refs thought that was a little bit too much.
And a quick sub for Quebec as Bougie will check back out, and Jean-Charles Giguère comes back in.
I really like how Nick Palmer is getting in. He's subbing in a couple of his guys in a key. They've got some breathing room right now. Get some experience for some of his younger players for later on in the tournament.
And a nice defensive play right there by Tessier, chipping on Hayward so he couldn't catch the pass.
These are those passing difficulties that New Brunswick had in the first half, where they were passing without space and with ball pressure.
Adding to their turnover total. And here goes Lalonde right down the lane like a bowling ball, and he'll get himself to the line for 2. And it feels like New Brunswick's really struggling to stop the Quebec players from getting to go where they want to go. There's been no resistance.
They're getting, when Quebec's getting a New Brunswick player picked out on almost every offensive possession, and that just opens things up that much more.
And how do you combat that if you're part of the New Brunswick coaching staff, to try to stop your players from getting picked out in the backcourt?
Well, your players have to make quicker decisions to get back on defense. That's the first thing, and then they have to look to help each other get back in. It's not something you can do one-on-one. You've got to come up and you've got to bump those pickers and help your teammates get back in.
Hayward gets this one. Cross half court. Trap there. Over to Sean Wilson. Dumps that one in, another turnover.
So we had the ball swing we wanted. Alex Hayward on one side of the court swinging to Sean Wilson on the other side of the court. No ball pressure, and just got to take care of the ball, passing it inside.
New Brunswick now hits their 10th turnover of the ball game, and Palmer an easy run out for the layup. Here goes Fudge.
Nice pick in the open court by Sean Wilson. Elodie Tessier up court to pick up on the switch.
And shot clock malfunction here, so they'll reset.
I think for a moment Elodie Tessier thought that she'd picked up a foul, and she was like, what?
What did I do this time?
That's right.
Fudge will inbound. And they're going to get these subs in for New Brunswick. Maybe they'll wait until the next whistle. Yeah. And there goes Fudge trying to operate off that screen and called for the travel.
Tough one. We had a nice cross pick up high. Jake should have just rolled a little bit wider, and that would have opened up Sean Wilson's roll down the middle of the key.
And that's, like you said, you got to cut that out from the first half, but 3 offensive possessions for New Brunswick and 3 straight turnovers.
Yeah. And against a team like Quebec, they're going to capitalize on those turnovers.
And here goes Lalonde up court. New Brunswick sagging all 5 defenders around that paint, daring them to shoot from the outside, trying to give it up, but Palmer cuts inside, draws the foul.
Great cut on the baseline by Ben Palmer. One of the absolute, there aren't a lot of absolute rules in wheelchair basketball, but one of the absolute rules is you never let somebody cut baseline. Nothing good ever happens from that.
Especially when New Brunswick has all 5 defenders sag back into the paint, you still let them get down there for free.
Yeah, their help is middle high, and that's where you want to force anybody if you're going to get beat.
A little bit of a settle for a shot there from Giguère. And now can New Brunswick capitalize on the first Quebec miss of the half?
Still a close ball game. 10 points is well within New Brunswick's ability to come back from this. They've got the athletes and the ability to score and catch up. They just have to take care of the ball.
Could really use a basket on this possession. They go cross court to Wilson. He's working off that screen, gets that one up and good.
Now they've helped everybody get back in, and you can see how everybody's in. This is going to set them up for a better, hopefully for a better defensive possession.
Lalonde right there floating down the middle. No good, but they get the offensive board.
And they're slow to recognize the threats now.
And there's Palmer launching just inside the arc. No good. Let's see if New Brunswick can get some momentum going here.
Need to cross and pick in the open court and swing the ball, or they're going to get another turnover.
Johnson looking for his guy Hayward. Nice catch there. And there goes Wilson on the release out in front. Need to finish, settles himself, and gets it to drop.
Narrowly escaped a turnover at the backcourt, with the 8-second violation that time.
And you see there, foul called on the trap.
So for people watching at home, watch Sean Wilson in the middle of the key. He's the help defender for New Brunswick, and he's going to try to really communicate and put pressure on the side where Ben Palmer is and help and make somebody else get a look.
New Brunswick got it back to a 2-possession game, and Palmer just launched that one, tried to catch him off guard from beyond the arc. That brings Wilson outside. Here's Tessier getting down to the baseline. She throws that up. No good. New Brunswick now starting to get some momentum going here, forcing 3 straight misses. Now can they get it over? No, they can't. Berube picks that off like a free safety. And she's called for the charge as her back wheels came up.
Yeah, the New Brunswick players did a great job getting deep, but then they stopped and they didn't come back to the ball. and they just sat there, and it made it really easy for Sandrine to cut into the passing lane and take that ball.
And now you see Quebec set up that press once again. Dangerous pass. McClellan saves it. Lalonde applying the pressure. Wesley Johnson just chucks it to get it over, and Wilson, oh, what a lucky break right there. Settles himself, can't get it to drop. Nearly gets the rebound, scramble for it. Tried to throw it off Palmer's chair, but too far out of bounds.
Yeah, you can't throw it off another player's chair intentionally. That happens by accident, but I think the ref saw that Sean was really just tapping that off of Ben Palmer's chair to try to see if he could capitalize on it.
About to hit the 5-minute mark of the third quarter. New Brunswick battling back, down 6, 27-21. Quebec bench trying to get the energy back up for them. Berube just past the free throw line, knocks it down.
Sandrine read that Sean Wilson had rotated over to help on defense, just rolled in for that little short jumper, and that'll continue to be open as Sean has to put pressure on Ben Palmer's side of the offense.
And that one chucked out of bounds by Wesley Johnson, a little out of the reach of Wilson. Here's Berube. She's got some space to work with. Looks back for Lalonde. Wilson comes up on the help, but Palmer's open on that. Too long. Wilson gets the half screen from Arsenault, but it worked out. They send the help over. Nice cut there. Great pass to McClellan, and he converts it.
That time New Brunswick was able to move the ball before Quebec could get ball pressure and change the passing lanes.
Hayward with that touch pass, really pretty. Up top, they swing it across to Lalonde. He puts it up off glass, no good. Rebound, tipped around, recovered by Wilson. And a big collision over the middle as Hayward is tripped up by Ben Palmer.
And that's Ben's 4th foul. That's a problem. He didn't need to pick that up right there.
Well, they announced it's his
third
foul.
third.
So some luck there for Palmer after it looked like he had picked up the third at the end of that first half. Here's Johnson. Swings it cross court to Wilson. He's got the hot hand at the moment. Gets in there, dumps it, and Belfort tips it and steals.
So numbers advantage for Quebec here. And you can see the space is perfect for Ben Palmer. He just couldn't capitalize on that layup. Great look, though.
And now, nice screen there.
2 picks back-to-back to really get the ball up court, and there's that swing offside.
Hayward had a good look, just couldn't convert that one. Would have been big to cut the deficit to just 4. Still a 2-possession game here, as Quebec will slow it down on this possession. Lalonde spins baseline, nowhere to go. They give it back to him. He chucks across court to Palmer. Doubled, just throws that one up a little out of control. And now the long lead pass to Wilson. Unlucky bounce off the wheel.
Great opportunity for New Brunswick. They did a great job. They doubled Ben Palmer. They got him to take a tough shot. They had a help defender rotate over, and then they get somebody open on the break and couldn't capitalize on it. They've got to take care of the ball.
Another turnover for New Brunswick, and Quebec will bring it forward with Palmer leading the charge, swerving through traffic. Looks back for Tessier. She finds Lalonde. He's got an open look, tries to go glass. Can't get it. Quebec's shooting gone a little bit cold here in the third. Wilson heaves it down court, and that's going to be another turnover.
There's a space just before the midcourt line that if the New Brunswick players came back into that space, it'd be a shorter pass, and it'd be a pass that wouldn't be contested by the defense, and it would still relieve ball pressure and allow them to attack. And they've got to look to attack in that space.
Totally, because at this point, it feels like New Brunswick is just heaving Hail Marys down the court to try to beat this press. Here's Belfort. Looks, shoots, and gets it to drop. Big shot for Woody Belfort to break the drought. Here's Wilson looking around. Hits Wesley Johnson. Stopped in his tracks. Trying to make a move, and there's McClellan wide open on a cut and a finish.
Now we're starting to see some picks in the open court. New Brunswick has to take care of the ball. Don't run into the Quebec defenders. Keep space and then reverse the ball.
If New Brunswick can just go a couple possessions without a turnover, it feels like they'll be able to tie this thing up. Palmer into Lalonde. He struggled with the shot and gets himself going now. Scoring picking up at both ends as we're under a minute to go here in the third. 8-point lead for Quebec.
There's that open space that they can post the ball to.
You see Arsenault trying to probe around and help with a screen.
And farther behind there was a pick.
Hayward nowhere to go. Dumps it back to Wesley Johnson. Alex looking, just threw it back, and not sure if he was trying to get it to Sean Wilson or just lost the ball.
Yeah, I don't think he had his personnel where he wanted them to stay. And this is where communication comes into the game. For any of these teams to be successful, they really have got to communicate so they function as a unit on the court.
Here's Palmer working at the elbow, cross court. Lalonde thought about the shot, gives it back to Palmer. He's going to let that thing go. Looks good and drains it. And just like that, Quebec's got it back to a 10-point lead with 10 to go here in the third quarter. And if you're New Brunswick right now, just don't turn it over and give Quebec one more shot. Up to Hayward, nice lob. Can he handle it? Can he get a shot up in time behind his head? No, not quite. So 10-point lead for Quebec. It looked like New Brunswick was going to man a charge, but Quebec answers back right away after that.
Yeah, throughout that quarter, what we saw New Brunswick consistently struggle with passing the ball and handling the ball in the open court. They had opportunities. They were starting to get some picks. They were starting to get free, and then they turned the ball over, and they took their own opportunities away from themselves. And some of the opportunities, they were wide open in the open court, and they're beating themselves right now. They got to take care of the ball if they're going to have any hope of staying in this.
And if you're New Brunswick strategically right now, since you've struggled with turnovers the entire game, what can you change going into the fourth quarter?
You know, the biggest thing is they started to bring, instead of going really deep against that pressure and trying to throw that ball long, they started to come back to the ball. They hit those people in the middle space in the court. They've got to continue to do that, and then they got to take care of the ball. They've got to think of passing like shooting. Shooting, you always talk about following through. You do the same thing with passing. You fall through and you pass to a hand. And I think right now they're passing in too big a space or passing to a whole person. They really need to narrow their focus on their passing.
And if you're on the Quebec side, do you stay as aggressive defensively as they've been the whole game, or do you kind of hang back and just not take risks up 10 going into the fourth?
No, I think you stay with your game plan. What's worked so far has been to put pressure up court. Don't take that pressure off. Don't let New Brunswick have an opportunity to get back into the game. Make New Brunswick adjust. Make New Brunswick execute in this open space.
We haven't seen much from Wesley Johnson outside of that first quarter for New Brunswick. I think someone like him needs to try to take over this game a little bit here going to the fourth.
Yeah, they haven't had that person to run things and get everything connected on the New Brunswick side, and that could be Wesley Johnson for sure. It could be Alex Hayward. Both those guys have some experience with the national program in Canada. Both are very, very bright young men. They really understand the game.
Johnson looks locked in as he retakes the floor. They need to lock in here for the last 10 minutes, and it starts with getting a stop on the opening possession here this fourth quarter. Everyone back inside the paint for New Brunswick defensively. Good hard screen there by Belfort. Roubaix. Back to Lalonde. Now he's got the room. Can't hit it though. And Johnson sealed
They're missing people in the open court right now.
It feels like there's almost been that hesitation now to throw these passes with all the turnovers they've had. Here's Hayward back to Wilson. Gets the space. He's got to put that thing up. Can't quite get it to drop. Looked good coming out of his hand. Here's Palmer spinning back. Has some space. He's going to shoot. No good. There's Belfort. That one dribbled away, goes out of bounds. And it will stay Quebec ball. Lalonde triggers the inbounds. Berube back up to Palmer. And Quebec's passing staying so crisp. Palmer, there's that three ball you talked about, but short.
Yeah, the Quebec offense got a little bit bunched up on one side of the court, not exactly where they wanted to be. Spread out the way that I know Coach Palmer would like to see them spread out.
And there you go, nice lead pass out to Hayward, and he can get the ball in the front court, no problem. He's trapped by Palmer. They give it to Wilson, trying to spin back and operate. Here he goes around Lalonde and gets it to drop, and he just has the length advantage there on the lawn in that mismatch. Yeah.
So great example that time. You could see the New Brunswick players, they didn't run into the Quebec players. They kept space with the ball. Quebec couldn't put ball pressure on them, and they eventually got to the rim.
There's Palmer. Johnson comes out to contest. Hayward chips in on there. Berube. And active hands from Austin McClellan, but Palmer frees himself up again. Can't get it to go. Gets his own board, and they'll reset. Gets down to the baseline. Little shot fake, no good. Nice rebound by Sean Wilson, controlling that ball. And he's got the helper, doesn't see him. Oh, and they had Hayward on a free release, too. They'll have to settle for half court. Here's McClellan going towards the rim, just short. Wilson there, cleans it up. Yes, and here comes New Brunswick now, just down 6 once again.
And there's Nick Palmer calling the timeout. He's going to bring his people in, settle them down.
And a really smart timeout there is quick little 4-0 run. You don't want the game to get out of hand in front of you.
So great adjustment. The New Brunswick players did those tiny little things. It wasn't that they did something tactically different. What they just did was they kept space so Quebec couldn't put ball pressure. They had their heads up a little bit more, and then they were able to hit those people in space with the ball, and so they weren't turning it over. They weren't taking themselves out of the play. It'll be interesting to see if Quebec comes out, maybe starts a couple possessions back on defense and then brings their pressure back up, or do they go a little bit harder up court as they come out of the timeout?
Well, I think what you've seen also is the New Brunswick defense the last two possessions seem a lot more active, and they're getting better contests on these shots from Quebec.
They're able to get everybody back in, and so they're playing with 5. That's the way their defense is designed. It's to have 5 people back, 1 person helping. They're much weaker and a little bit disorganized when they have 4 people back. They're not quite sure what their rotations are. You can see even out of the timeout, the New Brunswick players helping each other get in on defense, and the Quebec players trying to pick them in the open court.
Berube will bring it forward. 7:30 to go. Still anyone's game. Lalonde on the baseline. Spins back. They'll throw it up top. Cross court. Palmer back to Berube. Ball really whipping around right now. Lalonde inside. Nice play design, but active hands for New Brunswick once again. And here's Wesley Johnson on a leak out. Settles himself, slows down. Oh, and even after that, pushed it too hard off glass. And he takes Belfort out. Cheeky little pick in the backcourt. But Tessier's rolling free. She throws that up, and the foul. Oh, no, they're not going to count it. They're going to give her an offensive foul.
The refs have been really consistent in calling that offensive foul today, and that's something for the players to adjust as the tournament goes on. They're not going to be rewarded if they can't control their chairs.
And interesting, too, that the trail official called that after the baseline official had given the initial and one signal.
Well, so they're saying that the foul happened after the ball's out of the hand. So count the basket, but foul going the other way.
You'll take that if you're Quebec. Tessier resets herself.
So we can really see the New Brunswick players trying to get a little bit deeper. One deep over half. They're trying to pick in the open court for each other. They're staying moving so that the Quebec players can't get them locked down in a particular location.
Hayward looking for help, hits Wilson. Spins back, fires it down to McClellan. That's a tough catch over your left shoulder. Another turnover. And the Quebec fans getting loud here. Berube, top of the circle. Out to Lalonde. He's going to fire that one up, around, can't get it to drop.
Some nice open court picking by New Brunswick.
And Belfort gets back into the play, nearly got away with it, but he's called for the foul. Belfort's first foul of the night. Here's Wilson. Looking around, gets it down to Wesley Johnson. Trapped on the baseline, looking to pass. Wilson will put it up from the other side and knock it down. Sean Wilson is the man with the hot hand right now.
It's a big shot for New Brunswick. They're struggling to be able to get inside. So that's key to keeping them in the ball game and not letting Quebec really start to stretch it.
You see Lalonde trying to get in there against Wilson. You're not going to be able to get it off against the bigger guy.
Really nice job by Sean, pulling away from Colin Lalonde's chair as he was trying to drive, really keeping space and not picking up a foul.
Here goes Hayward on the catch. Trying to work that pick with Johnson. Seals off two Quebec players. Shot clock running down. Johnson's got to put that thing up. Can't get it. But right back to his own board. Reset at 14. Nice cut there from Hayward. Oh, he didn't turn around. Now he does. Can't get it to go. He's had a real tough luck in the second half offensively.
Yeah, he had more time. He didn't need to rush that shot. He could have got his balance a little bit more.
Seems like New Brunswick, no matter what, cannot break this 6-point barrier. Maybe they can now. Bad pass stolen away. Wilson, he's got a man to beat. Look at Palmer hurry to get back into the play and then totally take him out. That'll be the push. So there is Palmer's fourth foul now.
No, they're calling that on Sean Wilson.
Oh, wow. Did you see an offensive foul there?
You know, I thought that the ball was loose in front, and I can see where the officials felt that was a loose ball. Both players have an opportunity to go for it. Ben Palmer had position. He had his axle in front of the caster of Sean Wilson, so he had the path to go for the ball. And so that's a hold on Sean coming from behind.
Tough break there for New Brunswick, and once again, as they have a chance to break the 6-point barrier, call goes against them.
Yeah, they've had a couple opportunities here, and this has been consistent throughout the game. And the thing that we've seen is ball handling that has taken those opportunities away.
Here is Orlijika Vero back in. Palmer had the angle, didn't go for it. Gets it out to Vero, and she is stuffed by Wilson. And now they call a foul. A real late call there.
I think that's going to be Sean's fourth foul.
Tough 2 plays in a row for Sean. It is his fourth, so he's been the guy scoring a lot too. You don't want him to foul out of this game.
It'd be interesting to see if we see Jake Fudge come in. He's super athletic. This could be a time of the game where in that space, he can really capitalize with some of his speed. And here we go. We see Jake Fudge come in. He's going to give Sean Wilson a breather. We
think. Initially went to the table,
like
and now they pull him back. Little false alarm. Vero's second, up too strong. Now here goes Johnson. Quebec pulls back, no full court pressure here. Johnson's got a lot of space. Looked like he was thinking about shooting and then just loose with the ball, and you can't do that.
So one of the things Wesley Johnson's been working on is adding a 3 to his game. That would have been a great opportunity for him to take that look.
Wilson thought about the 3, goes just past the arc, and it's short.
And those are the ones that drive coaches bananas, just inside the arc.
Palmer tries to cross over, gets sealed back out. Here comes Tessier down the lane. Quick pass to Bougie. He can't handle it. Vero, her shot is up, no good. Oh, it's knocked around loose. Palmer comes up with it. No, good battle for that rebound. Look at Palmer trying to fight through the arms. Bougie down there fighting through. He can't get it to drop. Palmer, the 4th chance, and they knock it down.
Finally, it didn't look like they wanted to score.
And New Brunswick just unable to seal out Palmer from getting those rebounds. Here's Wilson. And no one ready for that pass.
So Alex Hayward read the cut. He beat Woody Barrelford baseline. He's open. He gave that little nod to Sean. Sean passed it too low. There's a rule. Up is always open in wheelchair basketball because we can't really jump our chairs up more than about 6 inches. And that's where you got to pass the ball. That's always open. Up is always open.
Shot clock resets to 14 for New Brunswick here. Lob pass into Wilson. He's got some space. You got to put a shot up here. Over to Johnson, just inside the paint. Holds that follow through and drops it in.
Did a nice job taking his time, getting himself settled as he came out of that spin.
New Brunswick needs to string together a couple stops to have a chance to tie this thing up as we head to the 3-minute mark, crunch time in the 4th quarter. And looks like a tech is going to go on Alex Bougie here. So we'll get a free throw for New Brunswick down at the other end.
Oh, I see what the official's doing. What he's saying is that when Alex fell and he went to fall on the ground, he put his foot out on the ground. And the official's saying that that's an advantage and a technical foul. What Alex has to do is just fall on the court. It's a tough call for Bougie to get, for Alex Bougie to get against him.
Wilson makes good on it. So cuts it back to a 5-point game. And it's going to be Quebec ball.
And it goes back to point of interruption. So at the time that the technical foul occurred, Quebec had possession, so they're saying they get possession back again.
No loss of possession. Not a bad thing here, not a super costly tech. So they sort it out. And it's going to be down, side out of bounds here in front of the bench. New Brunswick can get a stop here and score at the other end. We'll be back to a 1-possession game. And Berube is tipped and knocks it down and one, just as I say that. Big time shot.
There we saw her push in earlier, take that short jumper. As the game went on, she stopped making that read when the help rotated onto Ben Palmer's side. She read it again, and there's that short jumper, and that's open consistently anytime that New Brunswick defender has to rotate to Ben Palmer's side.
Free throw off the side of the rim, no good. And nearly saved by Belfort.
Great hustle. He's really worked hard all game, and he's been very quietly being a solid defender for Quebec.
And you always need players like that who will do the dirty work and don't want to just score on one end. Wilson spinning around. trying to get some help, fires it across the court. Johnson needs to put that up, clock running down. McClellan grabs the rebound. They fire it back over. Hayward kind of caught on his own guy there, Arsenault. Trying to get this to Wilson, and that's just not a smart pass with all those defenders down there.
Just a little bit too low. Again, he needs to lob that up, and in that case, it needed to go to Sean Wilson's left shoulder, the shoulder on the baseline side. That's where he was open.
Palmer spinning a free. Gets it over to Belfour. Taking his time. Shot clock running down. He puts it up and trails it.
And New Brunswick has been consistent in that they're willing to let Woody Belfour take that shot from outside and put their defensive pressure on Ben Palmer's side of the court.
So up back to a 9-point lead. New Brunswick really can't afford any more mistakes right now if they want to tie this thing up and get it into overtime. Wilson shot underneath, tough break.
He's got more time. He had a second or two to take there to get his balance.
There's Palmer saying, let's slow it down and run some clock. Now, if you're New Brunswick, do you start trying to force a turnover by getting up and trying to swipe it out of Quebec hands?
You know, if they're going to start fouling, if they're going to start doing that, they probably need to. Yeah, they need to do it right away.
Yeah.
I don't know if New Brunswick is designed to put that kind of pressure up court. They play a very methodical half-court game. And with the personnel they've got out there, they may not have the personnel they would need to put that kind of pressure up court to be able to force some of those turnovers that they would need from Quebec. Still being a very, very low-scoring game.
Very defensive-oriented game.
Both teams kind of settling in a little bit. You know, it's the first day of Canada Games for all the teams. And for young players, it's getting used to this environment and this level of play and the added stress and distractions that can happen out here. So right now, we're going into an end game situation, and so now we're going to get a chance to see how the different teams adjust coming out. To your point, right. Does New Brunswick come out and start pressuring up court? Do they start fouling to try to put some of the Quebec players on the line? And Quebec, on the other hand, they have to take care of the ball. They have to continue to execute and keep the ball in the hands of the players that are free throw shooters if New Brunswick is going to foul them.
Well, and like that, just a minute 18 left and down 9, it seems like the only way you're going to be able to get back into this game is playing the free throw game.
And there's a couple of players on the New Brunswick team that have the ability to shoot the three. They've started to show that. Wesley Johnson's one, and so we might look to see if he has that kind of a look.
You'll need to free up some space, and there it is. Look good, and he hits it.
Great look by Wesley. It's something he's been adding to his game in the last couple of months at the National Training Center.
And a perfect time to shoot it right off the inbounds, too, before any Quebec player could come out and contest. So now you can't give up any buckets, and a quick miss right there. That's exactly what you want. But now you see that lob pass, dangerous. Now, did Lalonde get a hand on it?
I think he thinks he did because they're all going back.
Lucky break there. Very close to Lalonde tipping that after knocked by Hayward.
Yeah, there's Quebec getting the ball in Ben Palmer's hands.
Under a minute to go. And there's Lalonde just out of his reach. Now that's really hurts Quebec as the clock stops as well.
Now, one of the things that teams have a tendency of doing in this kind of an end game situation is they'll come down and they'll take that quick three. And they don't need a three right now. A 3 or a 2 are fine. New Brunswick needs to continue to look for those opportunities going to the hoop and then quickly set up their defense to foul.
Another quick timeout here is New Brunswick will strategize their plan to get it up court. And we've seen so many times New Brunswick just try to lob it into the front court here, but you need to keep the passes a little crisper in this situation. Yeah,
what Quebec just needs to do, they just need to stay basically with their up-court pressure. It's been really successful. Don't change that. And just be aggressive and make sure they stay between their matchup and the basket when they're on those chairs. And don't chase over in the open court. Go under. Just give up ground because they can afford to do that.
And it looked like even in that huddle, Quebec's coach, Nick Palmer, saying watch for the lob because they're going to be trying to throw it over your heads. And with that timeout, they get to advance it. So we will see if they try to free up Wesley Johnson for another 3, try to run some picks and get a cut. Dump it off to Wilson, right back to McClellan. Has the momentum, can't get it to drop. With the rebound out, dumps it down Johnson, needs it, can't get it. McClellan, there you go. And now another timeout. And look at New Brunswick here executing late in this one.
Yeah, Ben Palmer calling a timeout. He's going to advance the ball as well.
And now just 34 seconds left in a full 24. When do you think about fouling if you're New Brunswick?
Well, if you're New Brunswick, you've got a little bit of time. It's a 4-point ball game. You've got 1 to burn, so you're going to have to foul somebody right away. After that, you've got a second or two. You've got a couple of seconds. You can force the ball into a non-free throw shooter's hands and then foul that person.
We will see. Do you think that they will put one of their better defenders like Sean Wilson on the inbounder to try to even tip the pass?
No, I don't think they're going to do that. I think what they'll probably do is they'll probably look to just match up, and as soon as the ball goes in bounds, foul right away. That would be the right thing because they've got 1 to burn, 1 foul to give. Then the next time they're going to double the free throw shooter, which means that Ben Palmer likely would be doubled.
So big moment here.
Not advancing it.
Yeah, not an advance there. Put their full court pressure on.
This gives Quebec a little bit more space to maneuver.
Oh, and just
opens things up.
Perfectly executed as Tessier freed up Palmer. He has a free release to the rim, and Beyrouth scores, and that's exactly what you couldn't have if you're New Brunswick.
Great job executing coming out of the timeout. And again, we spoke about New Brunswick's not really designed to play in the open court.
And you saw that there as all 3 defenders were just taken out seamlessly. And they give up the layup. Now under 24. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go. Here's Wilson trying to get a pick to fire up a 3. And they're going to give an offensive foul. It's going to go on McClellan for an illegal screen.
Yeah, he clipped him a little bit as Ben Palmer tried to chase over.
And now 12 seconds to go. You are forced to foul immediately.
Yeah, so you saw Sean Wilson trying to create off the dribble. Again, that's really, really tough to do in wheelchair basketball. And at the end of the game in wheelchair basketball, one of the things you always look to do is create out a ball reversal. Right. Ball reversal is always open. And especially if you're going to try to create a 3, that's what you look for. And you need to be more patient and then look to pick off, have somebody pick off ball and get open for that 3.
Now, regardless of who ends up winning this one, how valuable is it for a coach to have their team play a really close game in the first pool matchup? Because we saw earlier today, all bloats, you don't really get many live reps of stressful situations in that.
Yeah. So for New Brunswick, they come out of this and they're talking about how they just need to keep space and handle the ball, and they can play with anybody. They've showed that here today. This is a pretty close ball game. And Quebec, on the other hand, they're beginning to show, hey, guys, let's all play together and let's use all the space. Let's make teams push against us. So each of the teams, comes away with something that they're going to grow from and they're going to use in games coming up.
So we will get an advancement on this one, and New Brunswick will try to foul as soon as ball gets in bounds. There's Beyrouth. She's fouled. McClellan picks it up. Big free throws here to basically ice the game. First one up. No good. So now you see they send Wesley Johnson up court, looking for a lob pass, I would guess. Second one from Beyrouth. Just off the front of the rim, but how do you let Ben Palmer sneak in and grab the board right there?
Those kinds of things. Drive coaches been honest. So you've just fouled. You've gotten the person to miss 2 free throws. You fouled so you could get possession. So boxing out is first and foremost on your mind. And yeah, so that's a little frustrating right there.
Backbreaker there, especially if Palmer can knock both of these down. First one no good. And now you see Quebec sending back all players. Don't need a rebounder here to prevent any long passes.
Well, you just need somebody to stay up, make New Brunswick touch the ball, start the clock, and then just gradually give ground.
Here it is, 7 seconds. Out of the reach of McClellan, and that's going to be it. Quebec will inbound, just 2.4 on the clock, and they are going to win their first game here at the Canada Games and move to 1-0 in pool play. Really complete effort from them on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, you saw, I mean, any team that's going to put pressure up court is going to have to play together, and you saw the discipline that they were able to show in terms of pressuring up court. They stayed on the matchups that they needed to. They did a good job. They consistently ran their half-court offense, but they did struggle to get to the rim in the half-court. And any of the other coaches that are sitting and watching the tape, they're going to see that, and they're going to learn from what New Brunswick did on defense and how they put pressure on Ben Palmer's side. And then they're also going to see how the Quebec press was effective for most of the time, but the couple of spots where New Brunswick was able to manage the space and move the ball and pick away from the ball. So each of these teams will learn from each other, but the other coaches in this tournament will prep their teams based off of this and learn from this as well.
And if you're New Brunswick, I think you can look at the tape, and what they're going to be working on in practice over the next couple of days is ball security, ball security, ball security.
Yeah, they did some really nice things in their half court on defense. Their help defender really read the court, helped over, really tried to limit Ben Palmer's effectiveness in getting to the rim, and then rotated back to take away stuff in the middle, shots in the middle of the court. They did struggle with their ball handling, but that's something they control, so they can improve that. They can get better with that.
Thanks for tuning in to our fourth game of the day. Quebec wins 46-39 over New Brunswick. For Mike Frogley, I'm Mitch Robson. Come right back in about 25 minutes time for our final game of the day.
How you doing?